Ministers in the Government of National Unity will meet in Pretoria this weekend for the very first cabinet lekgotla. They're meant to outline government's priorities for the next 5 years. The cabinet of the 7th administration includes leaders of some of the 10 political parties that make up the GNU. So what will they discuss? And will it be in the interest or the best interest of the country? Let's try and get some answers from political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze, who joins us now live. Good morning, Professor, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Now, with the DA now in government for the very first time, how big of a challenge will the ANC face in keeping them in check?
Well, I think the DA has experience of governments, especially at provincial level and also local government level. So it's not a first experience for them. And I think given the long time it took now, almost a month in order to establish the government of national unity, I think in the process they started to know each other much better than before. So it's not as if it's a completely clean slate on which they are going to start the meeting of today and tomorrow. And the fact that they've engaged each other over so many years, actually, in Parliament, in the capacity of government and official opposition, I think also contributed to the fact that they know each other on a personal level quite well. What is now necessary is for the DA to become integrated into the national government. And that means not meetings like this, but it is also how to become integrated into their departments. And as I understand it, the directors general of all the departments will also attend this event together with the deputy ministers. And in the past, the lekgotla was also attended by the provincial premiers. So it's a very expanded meeting in order to develop a real national vision or view of where the incoming government should go. It is aimed at the same time at also giving President Ramaphosa the basis on which he can present next week the opening of Parliament speech, which in the past was always in the form of sauna. And I think it will be very similar. So he must have a consensus amongst these ministers of what he can present to Parliament, to South Africans in general, and to the international community of what they can expect of this government.
All right. What do you think should be the key priority areas of focus in today's cabinet lekgotla? And most importantly, as part of their priority discussions, how do you think, Professor, they're going to deal with contentious matters such as foreign policy, BEE, for instance? I mean, as much as the DA have previously and repeatedly said that they stand for transformation and redress, but they fiercely oppose BEE.
Yes, I think they are going, well, first of all, they must address all 30 portfolios. So all the ministers, all the portfolios are going to have an opportunity to present their plan for the next 5 years, or at least the most important components of that they can at this point in time already present to the cabinet will be presented as part of this, what they call the medium-term strategy of the government. So it's not that there's going to be one or two or three priorities. All of the portfolios will be priorities. But we know that when it comes to, for example, the speeches that the president presents, it is very much focused on the economy and on social matters. That will mean, therefore, social welfare, about the impact of crime on families, the importance of health and education and those aspects. But so these will be the more important focus areas. I don't think we must expect that they will come to a conclusion on all the detail of all the policies. So these points that you've raised now will become part of a longer debate. It's not that they're going to resolve everything Imagine how long it takes for political parties just to develop their own policies in their policy conferences. So one cannot expect it to be done now quickly in 2 days, that all these things can be resolved and a new policy can be formulated in the case of each of these portfolios. So it's an ongoing process, but this is in order to make a start, to lay the foundation amongst the parties, and as I said, to give President Ramaphosa enough information, enough of substance in order for him to present the speech next week.
And in the first GNU media briefing, Professor, Minister Ntshavheni sternly warned that ministers from other parties in the GNU do not have free rein when it comes to policy. Will this enhance or will this hinder the progress of the GNU, and in particular the portfolios of the new ministers who've just arrived?
Yes, I think there's clarity amongst them. That is always the nature of any coalition anywhere in the world, is you don't present your own party's policies and promote them on your own as a minister. You are part of a collective. Section 92 of the Constitution is very explicit about it, that all the ministers have collective responsibility for what happens in government or in the cabinet. They have individual responsibilities also for their own portfolios. And then at the same time, the cabinet is organized in different clusters. There's the security cluster, there's the social welfare cluster, there's the economic cluster, and others. And most of the decisions are taken first by the directors general in those clusters, and then later on, or at a high level, by the ministers. So it's very seldom that the minister takes any policy decision on his or her own. It is always done within that collective context, and it must be approved by the collective wisdom or by the cabinet itself in its collective form. In the policies, I can't think of any policy that has been in the past or will be in future can be taken by an individual minister on his or her own.
The president's leadership is obviously going to be tested. Professor, how do you think he'll fare?
I think President Ramaphosa actually is in a stronger position than before. I think when starting with his own party, I think this sort of factionalism that existed in the past is much less. The fact there is, I think the current dispensation of this government of national unity so far has received quite a lot of public support. There's high public expectations of what it can do. So in that sense, I think there's a lot of leeway that's been given to President Ramaphosa. And it is now for him and his team to use this goodwill that does exist publicly for them to be able to implement that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. That was UNISA Political Sciences Professor Dirk Kotze, just weighing in on this very historic day, the very first cabinet lekgotla of the Government of National Unity taking place later on this morning.